try. No hell below us, above us only sky.
Okay. Hi, everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Pamela Lazarus. Steve Plotkin is not going to be on tonight because he's with his wife who is in hospital in a rehab center. And she's doing pretty well, by the way, for those of you who knew about her situation. Alana isn't on because she doesn't feel well today. So this was a last minute substitution. Maurice is doing all the technical stuff, and I'm just going to introduce the people. So welcome to everybody who's here. We've got 23 people so far, and I guess more people joining. So we'll just quickly give a quick rundown about the VFI programs that are going on now and in the future. We've already had an archaeology dig, which has been going on for many, many years, and that's always successful. We finished a couple weeks ago a 2-week session at the Reut Rehab Center in Tel Aviv, and there were 3 men from VFI who participated in that, and they had a very, very good experience. They're going to be writing up testimonials, and one of the guys is doing a little PowerPoint thing or a video or something that'll be on YouTube soon, talking about their experiences. That was bundled with, it was 2 weeks at the rehab center, and they stayed at the facility. They stayed in the rooms at the facility. And then on the weekend before and the weekend in the middle, and then the weekend at the end, they had touring with Julia. It was very interesting because I know that one of the days they were supposed to go, it was a Friday, I believe, and they were supposed to go up north, and they were supposed to go to Tzfat. And Julia, the day before, said, well, guys, we can't go to Tzfat because there were rockets coming down in Tzfat, so we're just not going to take the chance. This is one of the things about coming to Israel now. People write to me and say, oh, I'm going to be there in a month. You know, what kind of things can I do? Somebody wrote to me and said, I'm going to be there in October. What kind of things can I do? We in Israel don't plan things far in advance these days. Obviously, you guys have to plan your trips. You have to make your reservations. You have to decide what program you want to be on. But as far as specific day-to-day things, if you're on a specific program, okay. But if you're doing the touring, or if you're doing part of it where you're just volunteering on your own, you have to just sort of be flexible. You have to get the American mentality out of your head. I had to do it. It took me a long time to get rid of my American mentality. Now I'm purely Israeli, and everything is done at the last minute. And that's the way it is here. If there are rockets coming down in Tzfat one day, then obviously you're not going to go to Tzfat. If there are rockets going down, you know, right near Gaza, then you're not going to be traveling right next to Gaza that day. So everything is flexible, and the guides, we use Julia. Julia knows exactly what has to be done. Other people that are maybe taking you somewhere, they also know exactly what has to be done. If, for instance, you're on an archaeology program and something is happening near the site in Jerusalem, they would tell you, and they would say, okay, we're not going to dig today. So you just have to come here with the idea that things are flexible. We were talking about doing farming. Right now, the farming has been put on hold because it's just too hot for our volunteers. I will tell you that farming is going on here every single day. Every day there's volunteer farming through Leket and through other organizations. So those of you who might want to be here, you know, and have extra on a VFI program or on something else, and have extra time and want to do farming, there is constant farming going on despite the heat. There may be a program that puts you down in the Gaza area, rebuilding buildings, rebuilding shelters, things like that. We're still working on that. The website I know for the new VFI programs is not complete yet. Is that correct, Bev? Is that what we said last night? Bev was on the Zoom last night. Bev, are you there?
Yes, I just had to unmute. It's not completed yet. It's in the final stages. We're hoping another week or two. I know we've been saying that for a while, but hopefully that's what will happen.
So when that's complete, it's going to be a really, really good website, and it's going to explain all of these different programs. Meanwhile, you still can see the dates, the proposed dates. Those are all on the website now, correct, Bev? Is that?
I believe
Yes.
that, yeah, it is.
Okay. So you can still see dates for proposed programs for the prospective programs, and it tells you how to do things. If you have questions, if you're interested in specific programs, you can always write to Steve or to
And
Lana.
why don't you put the URL in the chat just for people that might not have it, vfi-usa.org.
Maurice, you do that, okay. So that's just a little bit about what's going on. Tonight, we are fortunate to have 3 people speaking who have done a lot of volunteering in the last couple months. Actually, a few months. When were you here, Robyn and Lee? It's already several
March and
months.
April. March and
April. Okay, March and April. And Wendy, when were you here?
November through April.
Okay. All right. So we're going to have those 3 people telling us about their experiences, and they're going to speak for about 45 minutes, and then there'll be questions afterwards. So if you have any questions, just put them in the chat, and then we'll ask the questions afterwards. And meanwhile, Maurice will mute everybody. And then you can unmute at the end. Is there anything else that I didn't say, Maurice, that should be said?
Not that I'm aware of.
This will be put up on the YouTube. Is that right, Maurice?
Eventually,
As part of VFI Educates.
It'll go through the once it's recorded, then it'll get handled. Steve usually does that.
Right. Everything's a little bit slower than usual just because of everybody's situations. Okay, so let's mute everybody, Maurice.
I'm going to mute everybody, and the speakers will have to unmute themselves when they speak.
Right. And then Wendy is going to speak first.
Correct.
So, okay.
Great. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. Today.
Wait, not everyone's muted, Maurice.
Well, I'm clicking on the button. It's just not.
All right, everybody mute yourself just so we don't hear noise.
Wait a minute. Okay, we're all set now. Wendy, just unmute yourself and you can start presenting.
Muted me. Gotcha. So thanks for coming. Today, we'd like to present on how can I volunteer in Israel post October 7th. We know we have a special audience today. The people here have volunteered extensively. You guys have a lot of experience and knowledge and more. So really, what we're going to ask today is really for your feedback on the presentation and the content so that we can make it the very best it can be for orgs interested in informing their groups and telling them what's about. In line with that, there's a survey at the end that we would like you to please complete on the spot and you'll be putting in your feedback and your further tips than we've offered to make it the most effective presentation. And I want you to know that this survey rolls over, courtesy of Lee, into an Excel sheet. So we have hopefully very good persuasive outcomes quantitatively. to present to the organizations who would like us to talk. And meanwhile, as was said, please put your questions and comments into the chat, and we'll address them at the end. So, about me,
well, that they'll have a chance to request the slide presentation at the end, so they don't have to take notes.
Very good. So just my deal, after 3 years of volunteer trips with Sarel and staying on in Israel to make Aliyah, I came back when the war started to volunteer. And I had a lot of great experiences. I learned a lot. And I met some fabulous people, including Robyn and Lee. So we got back and we said, you know what? We were boots on the ground. We learned a lot in terms of, being there, volunteering in person. And so, hey, maybe it could help others if we put this into a cohesive, script. So that's what we're doing. And here we go. So so the learning objective is that by the end of this presentation, you will be able to identify the resources to help you decide if you want to make a volunteer trip to Israel. So people ask, what was it like? What's it like post-October 7th? Are there hostilities on every corner? How dangerous is it to be there? What are the people's attitudes you're going to come across, fellow Israelis, etc.? Well, and how do these people feel about a bunch of volunteers clunking on in from all over the world? Well, they're pretty happy about it, and we'll go into that further. And as far as the danger, not so much in Jerusalem, and not at all, really, where I was, and I think Robyn and Lee were principally. And I think if I have this right, not in the major cities, and we'll get more into it later. So, and then you have to ask yourself, hey, can I really help? Maybe I have limited mobility. Maybe I'm a teen with very little experience. Maybe I've only got 2 weeks vacation to give to this. Or I'm a senior, as many of us, with some chronic health issues. The answer is, guess what? Yes, 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 you could really, really help. Next slide, please. Okay, so just showing up, tying tzitzit in the vegetable fields, people are pretty grateful, and it feels trust, and it really adds to the morale. Next slide. And your hands-on efforts really give, again, a lot of strength and optimism to the people around you. Next slide. So, and then, well, look, I'm over here, we're working. How will we know that we're making a difference? Well, you're going to know from the personal interactions, the other Israelis, your fellow volunteers, the experiences you enjoy in day-to-day activities, and you'll take home some very special memories, needless to say. Next slide. So again, hey, what's the state of mind? We're jumping in feet first to a wartime Israel. Well, guess what? They're calmly going about their business in a very, very, very honorable way. Nobody's on a street corner, yelling and screaming. Everybody is extremely, as you guys know, wonderful. And, even though their kids, their parents, their siblings are in the army or waiting to be called up, there might be a little bit of a grim undertone. So that's how it is. And then you have to ask yourself, well, how do I want to volunteer? You can do it alone like I did. There's pros and cons for that. Family, friends, etc. Now we're going to talk about going with a group, volunteering with a group, or making a mission, going on a mission. Next slide. Okay, good. So the next 2 slides, we're going to list, and you probably know of many of them, these volunteer groups. But let me summarize by saying that when you go on an organized tour, so to speak, now they call them volunteers, you're going to go on a flight. Everything's organized for you. You fly on the same flight, you come and you go, and your hotel accommodations are made for you. And mostly, from what I've seen, there are 2 components to these volunteer trips. One is that there's generally at least 2 days of volunteering in the fields. Maybe you're harvesting vegetables. The other component, and people really value that a lot. I went on one group. I was helping out, and so I went on one and met some people, I guess, from Cincinnati. The second thing is that you will tour pretty darn tastefully. You will tour the October 7th atrocity sites, and it's done pretty tastefully. And I believe that it with some of the inhabitants who are back, I believe that it can benefit them financially, because there are many tours, many sort of deep-pocketed groups going in, and I think that's the case. So again, here's some more. There's Authentic Israel, Hadassah group, synagogues, etc. And then my last slide I'm going to cover is that we've talked about volunteering individually. We've talked about going with the volunteer group. And of course, we have VFI, which we're outlining some incredible new opportunities to volunteer and to serve. And then there are teachers and psychologists that are very welcome to come. I believe Nefesh B'Nefesh is handling that. The Israel Program for Excellence in English for school kids. This is a touring group, I believe. I mean, tutoring. Nefesh B'Nefesh is active in having doctors come over, physicians who are volunteering a lot. And then finally, there are startups, as we know, in the startup nation. There are many startups whose members have been called up again for duty in the military. And so they need people to do, pitches, the startup types of things we all know about it, pitch slides, that sort of thing. And now, Lee, please take it. Thank you for your time.
And I'm going to try to speak loud enough. Let me know if you can't hear me. So the big question is, how do people pay for a trip? And these are just several ideas. I bought my airline ticket with airline points in March. Many congregational rabbis are helping people out, or Jewish federations. Another option, at least here in Georgia, is our Jewish Interest-Free Loan Association of Georgia. And apparently there's almost every state, some major cities have their own Hebrew or Jewish interest-free loan. And if you click on this link, you can find out, you can approach yours. And in Georgia, they have made the commitment to fund Jewish experiences, whether it's Jewish camp or a trip to Israel. And at least here in Georgia, there's a 3-month payback, interest-free. So that's something to consider. If you're the right age, Birthright Israel, and some people, believe it or not, have actually done a GoFundMe fund online. For those of us who go to Israel to volunteer on our own, one of the biggest resources is a private Facebook group called Swords of Iron. I believe there's now over 30,000 members, and it's administered by several people and founded by Yocheved Rutenberg. And this has inspired a lot of people like Robyn and me to leave our comfort zone and step up and try something new. Let me really quickly just show you the Facebook page. Will it let me? For some reason, it's not letting me. Okay, well, if you go to Facebook and search out Swords of Iron, you can join this group. They have a Google Doc, an Excel spreadsheet, where they list volunteer opportunities. It could be in agriculture, working with animals, food prep, soldier stops, even kid-friendly volunteer jobs. And let's see if it'll let me. I don't know why the link's not working. Oh, well. And I just want to take a minute to listen to.
Hi, my name is Robyn Wittenberg. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, but I was living in Dallas before I came to Israel for the war. I got the call early in the morning on the 7th in Dallas, and I just couldn't not be here. 3 days later, I booked my flight. I raised $17,000 in 5 days, brought 23 duffel bags full of supplies. I was only supposed to be here for 2 weeks. I just haven't left 5 or 6 months later. Since I've been here, my partner and I opened up a big Facebook group for volunteering. We've basically centralized all volunteering efforts here in Israel. So if you want to come volunteer, or you want to come to Israel, or you're in Israel for a wedding, for any reason, you're able to just go to our page, see all the opportunities, and pick a place. Also, what we're doing is trying to kind of change the narrative around what it's like to be in Israel at the moment, because everybody sees on the news all the scary parts of what's happening. They don't understand that in the cities, in the middle part of Israel, there's people are still living. Hi, my name is Yocheved Retz.
And I just want to reiterate to everyone that you don't have to take notes today, because in the survey, if you give us your name and email, we will email you a PDF and all the links will work there for you of all these great resources. Beside the Swords of Iron Facebook group, there's a myriad of WhatsApp chat groups. And this was very helpful for Robyn and I, especially Hotel Brigade. We were able to set up our jewelry making workshops through that. Want to volunteer in Israel with me? There's farming WhatsApp groups. It's always changing, so it's good to just search your WhatsApp. Okay, so if you are preparing to go to Israel, whether it's with a group or on your own, the first thing you need to do is to book a flight. And until August 1st, no visas required. But starting August 1st, you need I believe it's called an ETA, Electronic Travel Authorization, or a visa to enter Israel for tourism from the United States. Right now, Delta code shares with El Al, and I know a lot of people have booked flights that have been outside of Delta or El Al and ended up they were canceled, depending on what the situation is in Israel. So the good news is that if you book a flight on Delta or El Al with their code sharing, it's rarely going to be canceled. So booking from a United States city to Europe and Delta, and Europe to Israel, El Al, whether it's an El Al ticket or a Delta ticket, it's great. The other thing, at this point, I don't think as many people are bringing extra baggage like Yocheved did. I think she said she brought 20-something duffel bags. But at this point, you can purchase most things in Israel and help the economy. But I do know we had a great experience with Delta, who let me take 3 suitcases full of jewelry making supplies. The other thing you need to do, whether you go on an organized trip or on your own, is to purchase travel insurance. Most importantly, this will cover health insurance, and you want to make sure you get the emergency evacuation, because if something happens and you have to be medvaced somewhere, it can cost over $50,000. My insurance for the trip that we planned on our own, it only cost $80, but it was mostly the health and the emergency evacuation. Okay, other considerations before you go is banking considerations. Call your bank and credit card companies and figure out, which cards you have, whether they have a foreign transaction fee or not, or if your local bank has a fee. Decide which of your credit cards and debit cards is the best to use. If you have time, go ahead and set up a new card. I've got the Bank of America travel card, and I get no transaction fees and no Bank of America fee. Let your credit card company know you're going to be out of the country. That way their fraud system will not turn your credit card off when they start seeing charges coming from outside the country. To avoid the hassle and expense of changing money in Israel, you can also order shekels from your bank. With Bank of America, you could do it either in person at your bank or online, and it takes less than a week to get them, or you can use the ATM at the airport. The other thing that we recommend is install an app on your phone called Currency Plus, so you can be an informed buyer in Israel and easily convert shekels to dollars and vice versa. The other thing to do is also to talk to your phone carrier and understand whether you have to add on international phone coverage or you already have it. I now have T-Mobile, which includes international data, and whether I receive or make calls, it's only 25 cents a minute, which is great. Verizon and AT&T, they have a $10 per 24-hour international plan. And then people who are staying maybe longer often find it helpful to get a Israeli SIM card. And here are 3 companies that are popular to do that with. Another thing you can do before you leave is install these various apps on your phone. WhatsApp is important because if your family back in the United States are WhatsApp users, you can make free phone calls to keep in touch with family and friends. And WhatsApp is used very much in Israel. There's another app called Move It, which is a way that you can pay for and use the bus, the light rail, and train. Put your credit card in there in advance, and then you actually use it when you get on the bus. I use Move It, but Robyn used Thrivekov, and you pay for bus rides with this smart code, and you load money onto it in advance. So they both do similar things, although with Move It, you know when to get off because you can see your bus progressing on the route. You have navigation there, and you can see what stop you're supposed to get off on. Google Maps and Waze are great for walking and driving. Some volunteers that Robyn and I met in Israel actually rented cars, so they would have more need for Waze. But I know I use Google Maps just walking around. There is not Uber in Israel, but there is a similar app called Get, and you can order and pay for taxis. And we use that a lot with our heavy suitcases full of jewelry making supplies. And it worked out really well. And it was great to not have to pull out money or credit card each time. Another option, I guess for the younger volunteers, is either Bird or Lime, and you can rent scooters. And I hear that's very popular in Tel Aviv. There's also an app for Israel Railways if you're going to be going from city to city or various areas. A really important app is Google Translate. I know I attended a meeting with my Israeli friend at her community center and listened to a presentation in Hebrew. So I turned on my Google Translate, and it was translating, even though I was sitting at the back of the room, it picked it up, and I was just amazed how nicely it translated it. We talked about Currency Plus. And then another app is called Homefront Command. I think most Israelis have this on their phones, and it sends out emergency alerts and life-saving information. And Wendy, who was in Israel for a longer period than we were, she actually had food delivery apps on her phone to order food. It's sort of like Uber Eats, and it's called Wolt and 10 bis. Okay. Here are a lot of transportation tips that were listed on the Facebook group, but Robyn and I sort of discovered these just by learning, especially the first one. When taking a bus, when you bring it up on your app, on your Move It app, it actually tells you the bus stop number and the bus number, and you should check the bus stop number to make sure you're on the right side of the road. I know we had some issues with that where we had to keep crossing the road because we were so confused. We talked about Google Maps and Waze. Tel Aviv has a Shabbat bus around the city and it's free. And we talked about the fact that you can pay for public transportation with a Rav-Kav or Move It. And for those who are renting cars, make sure you're only parking by a sidewalk with blue and white stripes. And parking in both Tel Aviv and Jerusalem is very difficult, and they ticket. So you can actually look for parking lots online through Google Maps and Waze. Okay. Another thing that if you're going on your own, you have to do in advance is look for affordable accommodations. As Pam said, you don't plan what you're going to do weeks and months in advance, but it's only hours and days you plan that. But your accommodations you should plan. You can search Facebook groups. Airbnb has lots of discounts. There's hostels like the Abraham Hostel in Tel Aviv, the Post Hostel in Jerusalem. But most famous is the Maxim Hotel in Tel Aviv. They have special rates for volunteers. Robyn and I stayed there. It included breakfast and afternoon snack, a heavy afternoon snack, including soup and wine. You can almost make a dinner of it. And if you look at the Google Doc on Swords of Iron Facebook group, there is a page of farms that do provide accommodations, but you do have to plan all that in advance. As far as food, you've got food delivery, you've got street food, you've got Machne Yehuda, and there's so many big and small restaurants. Okay, so what should you pack? This list includes ideas. Yes?
You want me to take over?
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
Keep track of the time, girls.
Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, so if you're going with an organization, they'll tell you what to bring. But the key things here, because you can read this slide, is bring old work clothes. And when you're in Israel, you don't have to have fresh outer clothes every day. You can wear them more than once. The other thing is a plug adapter for Israel, plug adapters, and phone battery packs. Those are most important. Okay, Robyn, this is where you take over.
Yes, ma'am. And for those of y'all that are going through this, again, you can request this slide presentation and we will be happy to email it to you. So as far as volunteering opportunities, like Pamela said, they sort of change on a regular basis. She runs a Hamal, which is a distribution center for soldiers, and you can always go there. You can always go to Aaron's Angels, which is a parking deck that was taken over, given by the city of Tel Aviv to volunteers who take things from all over the world, sort them, and then take lists from civilians and soldiers and fill those lists and then have those lists delivered. It's called Aaron's Angels. You can help host barbecues for the IDF because we're trying to keep the morale up for the soldiers, and they love dealing with volunteers. Make sandwiches for the soldiers, tzitzit has become a big activity because the religious soldiers, of course, want uniform. Pack toiletries, visit wounded soldiers, and help with craft workshops. This is what Lee and I did. We took 130 pounds or so of jewelry making supplies and arranged with coordinators at each of the hotels in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv where the evacuees were staying. And we met a lot of people that way. And we also used these WhatsApp and Facebook pages to put out an all call for people that could help us to come and visit with the evacuees. Unfortunately, we've got soldiers that are falling on a regular basis, so they need people to sit Shiva, especially for the lone soldiers, to attend funerals. And I'm sorry, I just saw somebody in the chat. Excuse me. Yes, secular soldiers also wear tzitzit. So that's become a big activity.
I'll just interject something.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I've been doing it recently, and there are more secular soldiers wearing tzitzits now than ever before.
That's awesome.
And they have to supply like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of tzitzit every week to soldiers. And now they're doing a big promotion for a big project for the new incoming soldiers in August. So it's amazing.
That's great. And that's all over the country, actually. There's a group called Levadniks or Lone Volunteers. These are people that come on their own and they want to meet others and have some socialization. You can visit hospitalized seniors, adults, and children, the soldiers, of course, and visit senior living facilities. And now we're going to play a recording to let you see in action what's going on in Israel. Okay, the volume, Lee.
Is it not?
אנחנו נמצאים כרגע באזור תעשייה דרומי של הצפון, משק בן סעדון, דבס זה נקרא. אנחנו אישית מתמקצעים בעיקר בגידול חסה. בדרך כלל נמצאים פה עובדים זרים, היו לנו עובדים מתאילנד שעבדו איתנו פה, ובעקבות המלחמה ומה שקרה והמצב, הם עזבו את המדינה, חזרו לארצות שלהם, וכיום אנחנו נעזרים פה בעם ישראל היקר, המון מתנדבים שבאים להציל אותנו, ממש זה הצלה. העניין הזה של הידיים העובדות, אין מי שיעבוד, אז המון מתנדבים מגיעים לפה. יש לנו את עמותת חיבורים בחקלאות שעוזרת לנו לגייס ולרכז את המתנדבים, וממש מסייעים לנו בכל הנושא הזה. כמו שאתם יכולים לראות, פה המון אנשים שבאו היום לעבוד, כתבנו בבוקר, היום עכשיו אנחנו כרגע נמצאים באריזה, אורזים את התוצרת. צריך לדעת ולהבין שאנחנו נמצאים במשבר בחקלאות, שבעוד שבוע, שבועיים, חודש, חודשיים לא יהיה לנו תוצרת, כי חקלאים לא שותלים, לא שמים את השתילים בקרקע, ומי שלא שותל לא יכול לקטוף, לא יהיה לנו תוצרת למכור. עגבנייה, מלפפון, פלפל, חסה, כרוב, בצל, לא משנה, תפוח, אדמה, גזר, מה שתרצו ולא, כל הסל של הירקות, אנחנו פשוט לא יהיה מה למכור במדפים, לא יהיה תוצרת, כי אין מי שישתול, אין מי שיקטוף, אין מי שיעשה את זה. רק המתנדבים כיום שעושים את זה, אז זה מה שיש.
באנו שחסר כוח אדם, והרגשנו, לא גייסו אותי למילואים. נעשה מה שאפשר במקום. אנחנו פה כמה עובדים, באנו צוות שלם, וכיף. ואיך המצב רוח? כל הכבוד. תודה רבה. רואים את כל עם ישראל כאן חברים ושמחים לעזור. מה יכול להיות יותר טוב מזה?
So we mentioned evacuees, and this has been the most terrible situation with displacement of people. So it was in the south to start, but of course now it's up in the north, and many people have been away from their houses for 7, 8, almost 9 months now. So a lot of the volunteer efforts are to help these evacuees. They have been put in hotels and guest houses, but now the government is researching other things to do about the evacuees, and I'm sure Pamela would be able to enlighten us more about that. But in the meantime, we're doing what we can to help the evacuees. So you ask, how can I help the Israeli evacuees? Well, if you have a special talent, like maybe you do Reiki, maybe you do yoga, massage, song or dance. In Lee's case, she knew how to do crafts, so we decided to bring supplies. You could do a comedy show, a magic show. I was there during Purim. They were giving huge Purim festivals, so at least it would be a distraction for the children and the adults too, for that matter. And of course, there's a lot of retired people that have been displaced from their homes. So you contact each of the hotels, and that's another idea, another opportunity through WhatsApp, Hotel Brigade. It will tell you exactly who to contact, what they need, how many people, the age groups, etc. And Lee already mentioned how she schlepped 2 suitcases of donated supplies, and Delta was very good. It's hit or miss as to how accommodating airlines will be. But Lee put out an all call to Jewish moms of Atlanta, and more than 20 moms responded to the donations. Well, we ran out of beads. And so my friends Hadassah and Sli Labau gave us the name of Nadim Beads in Tel Aviv. And we went to the store. We explained to the proprietor what we were doing. And he said, I gave last October. He says, but I will give you again. And he took us to a corner of the store. He said, pick out what you want. So the Israelis are so grateful to have people coming from all over the world, Jews and non-Jews, is what we found out.
And we met more than 300 children, mothers, fathers, grandparents. It was wonderful.
So 1 or 2 people can make a difference. And if you want to see in the presentation, there's a link to show you the people that we met, children, retired people, just very gratifying.
Oops.
Yeah. So what can be expected at the volunteer sites? Well, they meet you at your ability level. And this is the concern that I get from people who want to volunteer. They say, oh, I don't know if I'm able to do it. Whatever you can do, if all you can do is sit at a desk and make tzitzit, then that's what you will do. You don't have to go to a farm to be contributing to the country. What we say, though, is be flexible. Israelis are brusque, as Pamela will tell you, and they may sound like they're arguing with each other, but they're not. They're just having an animated conversation. And if you don't know something, then ask about it. And of course, try to carpool or find buddies to go help you with the bus or the train. Lee?
Okay, is this where I take back over? Okay. Well, there are so many places, if you go on your own, that you can find out about in the Swords of Iron Facebook group here, whether it's Aaron's Angels, Pantry Packers, Metzilot Mazon, Leket, Livnot, Tachlit. Robyn and I went there and had a great time. Operation Tzitzit, Shari Tzedek Hospital. So these links will be in the PDF that you will get to tell you.
Yeah, and Lee, we have about 5 minutes, okay, to start wrapping up.
So this was your slide, no?
Okay, well, I will take over. Some inspirational activities to sustain the work. Pray, not mandatory, but if you're so inclined, there are synagogues, churches, and other holy sites almost on every street corner. Go to Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. We really hope that we won't have a Hostage Square for much longer, but until we do, 24 hours a day, there are people at Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, and there's also a setup in Jerusalem. Go to the historic sites, visit the museums. These people in Israel are trying to go about their day-to-day operations, The Joseph Bau Museum is a small museum by appointment only, but call them up and go. You will make them very happy. Go to festivals. There's festivals being held all the time. And we say Am Yisrael positivity. There are pop-ups, there's WhatsApp groups, and what we say is post what you're doing. Let other people know what you're doing. Inspire them, because that is how I got there. I was inspired by other people. Now, I personally have decided, having done it with Lee in March and April, that the next trip I'm going on will be in November, and it's going to be with VFI to volunteer at Reut.
Thank you, Robyn. I just wanted to say there's even an app for people who are either going to host or attend a Shabbat dinner. So you can actually set that up. And as Robyn said, be an advocate for Israel on your social media when you go and post. This is just some example of what Robyn and I and other people that we know who have gone have posted. It means so much when you spread. One picture is worth 1,000 words. So you can see here somebody made 200 plus meals for soldiers. There's just so much to do. But there are people who can't go to Israel right now, either because of personal issues, money, whatever. But what are some things you can do to support Israel from afar? Well, you can donate to reputable organizations. And on the next slide, I'm going to show you some links. The Jerusalem Post has actually listed 26 charities, but there are hundreds of charities that are deserving of help. You can support the various hospitals, whether it's Barzillai, Hadassah, Soroka. There's a national emergency fund that you can make a financial contribution to. Also, even while we're here in the United States, we can support Israeli businesses. This website lists Israeli products that you can order from the United States. There are some possibilities. If you Google, you will find where you can volunteer remotely online, whether it's teaching English or helping businesses. That is definitely something you can do. Most importantly, educate yourself and raise awareness. Use your voice and social media platforms to spread information about the issues Israel is facing and supporting human rights in Israel. Advocate politically. Join solidarity rallies. They've been all over the United States, whether it's New York, the big rally that just happened in New York, or Washington, or we've had many here in Atlanta. There are cultural exchanges, exchange students, host Israeli exchange student in your home. There's also Israeli Association of Community Centers that you can contribute to. Reaching out to both your Jewish and Israeli friends during this time. And as we said previously, praying for peace in Israel, that things get better from the current situation. Small actions can make a huge difference. Now, here are some links when you get the PDF that you can go to, and it will expand on what I've just talked about. Here are many, many links we've talked about, including Volunteers for Israel, SAR-L, and just a whole bunch of links that if you want to learn more about volunteering, we suggest you go here. So now I'd like to invite everybody to pull out their cameras and scan this QR code. And we're just going to take 2 minutes now. There's a link.
So you can do that. This is on the screen, and go ahead and complete the form at this time, if you don't mind. Just take a minute or two to do that. It's very short.
And if you'd like the PDF, do not email Robyn, Wendy, and me. Put your name and your email address in this form. Is everybody able to scan this? I don't want to go to
You
the
just
next
take a picture,
slide.
hold your camera on it, and it will have a URL that you can click.
But here's the URL if it's easier for you to how to volunteer in Israel, bit.ly. But we hope there's 30 something people on this call. We hope we can get 30 surveys, and in the next few days we will email you the information. So here I and Wendy and Robyn are. Here's our contact information. And we really wanted to thank, tens of thousands. I've heard there's been as many, I believe 80,000 volunteers from all over the world, all faiths, and really all ages. Robyn and I met single moms with teenage and college age, and even middle school age children who were volunteering. And who are either doing agriculture jobs, supporting soldiers, displaced persons, and most importantly, spending money in Israel and supporting the economy.
And I wanted to mention, Lee, that Susan put in the chat, please mention the Israel Philharmonic and the Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra. Absolutely. The libraries, the museums, the symphonies, and you can usually go to them during times when it would not conflict with your volunteering time.
And one of the things that I don't think Robyn and I thought of in the beginning, once I got the contacts through Hotel Brigade WhatsApp group and started WhatsApping the contacts in the various hotels in Jerusalem, I found out that they wanted to start the jewelry making events like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon because the kids were in schools. In Tel Aviv, they set up a special school to support the kids that were living in the hotels. And we did 7 workshops, 300 people, and most of the community, it was Kiryat Shmona.
Yeah.
In Shlomi.
Yeah.
They're up north. Even when we were there in March, doing the 7 workshops, most of the folks from the south had, except for the communities that were within a mile, the ones that were like 3 kilometers, had already returned to the area. So Pam, do you want to facilitate any question and answer period?
Well, we have some things in the chat.
Right. We'll do things in the chat first. Okay.
Pam,
so
facilitate that.
First of all, Elaine said, I'm a retired teacher, would love to volunteer in that capacity. What organization has programs for teachers to volunteers? You have to just look it up and see. You can go on the Sword of Iron Facebook. If you speak English,
there's
then
a link in the presentation too for teachers.
Obviously, if you speak Hebrew, then you have a better chance of being able to do something. If you don't speak Hebrew, then, possibly you can just work with kids, helping them, possibly teaching a little bit of English. Look up, Sword of Iron is the best source, as Robyn said, and Lee said, and Wendy said. It's the best source, and it's very easy to navigate. You have to sign up for it, and then you get approved for it. And then you just put your questions in there. You put your search things that you're looking for in there, and then you'll find things.
Pam,
yeah.
Some people in the chat are asking to send the PDF. We're only going to send the PDF if you do the survey. We're volunteers. I don't have the bandwidth to do. So has anybody, can people sort of has anybody been able to get to the survey? Because has anybody
tried? I just filled it out and submitted it.
I got to the survey just now by scanning it on my phone.
Great. So I'm going to leave this here during the question and answer.
Leave it there during the questions.
Yeah,
right.
I'm having a problem. I scanned it. I took the picture and I'm not able to get it. Do I not take a picture? I haven't done this very much. Do I
No,
not
just
take?
hold it up and you'll see a
Are you an
link.
No, don't
iPhone?
take a picture of it.
No, are you an
Just
iPhone?
hold it up.
Just
Okay,
hold
good.
it up and you'll see a link and click
Okay.
the link.
On the iPhone, it's like a yellow box that opens up, I believe.
Ah,
And if you
okay.
don't want to deal
I
with
got
that,
it. I got
okay.
it. I got it.
But the
All right.
URL is up there too. The bit.ly, how to
got it.
volunteer. Yeah.
All right.
All right, so Valerie talks about AT&T. Look for your own carriers and figure out what your best price is. Harry needed to be medically evacuated. Yeah, well, that's always your problem, Harry. That's just the problem. Those of us who know Harry, we know about Harry's medical evacuations. Anyway.
Well, he suggested something called MedJet, which we
Right.
can certainly look into and maybe put it on the list.
Right.
But,
Well,
you know,
thank you, Harry.
Insurance, right.
Even if you have health insurance that will pay for you international, like my United Healthcare, that's not the issue so much. The issue is you need the insurance for that emergency medical. And the insurance I got, if something had happened to me, it would have paid for a support person to fly over from the United States to be with me. It's really worth it. It wasn't like Robyn and I had paid $5,000 to sign up or $4,000 to sign on to a tour. So we didn't have to protect that because we were paying our hotels and food as we went. But
when these days, especially with all of us getting a little older, you really have to be careful what kind of insurance. I know through the 20 years of taking care of Sorrel volunteers, believe me, I had many, many people who ended up in the hospital, and Sorrel, we VFI, we required, and Sorrel required hospital medical coverage. So when you travel, you just have to make sure that you have it.
Pam, can we allow people to turn on their audio and ask a question?
Yeah, let's see if there's any. Let's finish these. Wendy talked about the secular soldiers, and I mentioned about that.
Pam, just a sec.
Yeah.
Lee, it might be helpful if you were to cut and paste the URL that you have on the slide into the chat so people can access it themselves from there.
Good idea.
Okay, Susan talks about the Israel Philharmonic and the Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra. They perform beautifully and need the support. And those are in the evenings and on weekends. Theaters, many theaters have English subtitles, and there are many, many, many. Israel has more cultural venues than most other places in the whole world. It's unbelievable how many cultural things you can find.
Absolutely. And the new library, the new National Library, is unbelievable, inspirational, phenomenal. It's now.
Then they were talking about the QR, and then that's it. Okay, so questions. Anybody else have questions that you did not put into the chat? If you do have one, because I can't see everybody now, so if you do have one, unmute yourself and just ask your question. Well, I think that their presentation was very, very comprehensive, so that's probably why nobody has any questions. It was excellent, girls. It was really excellent. You did a great job. Oh, Seth.
Yeah.
Okay, Seth, you can come. Don't worry, Seth. You can come back.
Maurice, I just sent you the link, but I can't figure out how to send it to everyone.
Can't you put it in the chat?
I can't change it from a direct message to everyone. I don't see how to do that.
Well, send it to me.
I sent it to Maurice if he can.
Maurice, can you post it in the chat for everybody?
I think it's there. I think he did.
He did.
I think I posted one that works. The bit.ly doesn't work, but the Google Doc works, and I posted for everybody.
Excellent. Thank you.
It definitely, the bit.ly works, what I just posted, but I don't know. How do you change that to everybody?
The drop down. There it is. In the chat, does everybody see it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maurice put it in there.
It works for me. Do you see this thing here? And
you've got 2 links.
It's the same thing.
Right.
It's the shorter bit.ly link. You don't.
The link that I put in works. I've pulled it right up on my computer. It's clear as day and ready to go.
So everybody copy it now.
And the bit.ly works as well.
And put yes if you want the PDF, and then your name here and your email. But if you can let us know the other information,
improvements we can make. Yeah.
We'd especially love to know how you think we can improve this.
Yes.
Folks who've never been to Israel, never volunteered in Israel.
Well, I think that most of the people on this
have gone already.
Have gone.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
I'm looking at all the people, yeah. So most people have gone. Yeah. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, but for those who have already gone, this gives them a great tool to use to share with other people.
Yeah,
who have not gone and are looking for that 101 class level of how to do it.
Right.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
And Robyn, we did it in 50 minutes.
Yes, you did.
Because we didn't start.
Mazel tov. Yes, we were told to be
so this is definitely something good to tell other people, or maybe if you're having a parlor session or something like that, or if you have an organization that needs information. So.
And what I do, I'm like a walking billboard, okay? I mean, today I'm wearing my VFI hat. I don't always wear my VFI hat, but I do always wear my I Stand for Israel button. I've been wearing this Ukraine ribbon for over 2 years now, but now it has an Israeli flag in addition. It has the yellow hostage ribbon in addition. And I wear my Star of David, and I wear a dog tag, and people say, wow, you've been to Israel? Yeah, tell me about it. So... that we have to be the poster children for letting people know that it's a good thing to go to Israel and help.
That's very well said. This
right,
is when
Pamela.
Yeah. This is a quick question. Does anyone have any thoughts about where we might present this? What organizations or groups might appreciate or learn from a presentation like this? We would love to hear if you have any thoughts.
I would try Sisterhood.
Definitely WIZO, WIZO, the women's, organization, the Zionist organization. They're all over, New Jersey and New York. They would love.
WIZO, okay.
Contact your
WIZO.
The sisterhoods at shuls in your towns, the men's clubs at the shuls.
And churches. They love Israel. And in fact, I'm talking to a group on Saturday of women that in philanthropy is some kind of philanthropic organization sponsored by several churches. And they wanted me to come talk about my trip to Israel. I won't be using this necessarily because it's too much, but I'm going to tell them, it's too much for somebody who doesn't know anything about it.
Right.
So as an introduction, I'll be talking about my experience. And that's what people want to hear. They want to hear the personal experience.
Maurice, did you see Connie's message? Maurice? Okay. All right. If nobody has any questions,
you're going to close it.
One more chance. Any questions from anybody? Because we have to close. What?
You're not going to schmooze today, right?
No, because we have to close this down. We can't keep it up longer.